I mean, Netflix has been, it's been pretty open about the fact that international expansion is the way to get there.
In 1997, two software engineers sat in a small California office, staring at a whiteboard. It was covered in scribbles, ideas, arrows, dead ends. Somewhere in the mess was a question that would change entertainment forever. What if TV didn't need TV? That question belonged to Reed Hastings, a man who, according to his own story, had been frustrated after paying a 40 late fee for returning a VHS copy of Apollo 13. Whether that story is 100% true is still debated. But one thing is certain, from that frustration came a seed. And it grew into Netflix. At first, Netflix was unimpressive. A mail-order DVD rental service in an era when Blockbuster's neon lights ruled Friday nights. They charged $4 per rental plus shipping. No one cared. Blockbuster's assets were concrete. Millions of customers who walked through doors. But those strengths masked a structural vulnerability. They were bound to physical patterns, to an operating model whose profit levers depended on walk-ins, late fees, and impulse purchases. Understanding failure is often mistaken for assigning blame. Blockbuster's failure was a series of rational decisions inside an irrationally fragile model. Executives, judged on quarterly returns and year-over-year same-store sales, chose to defend what they controlled. They tightened the bolts on the things that produced cash now, and in doing so, were slower to reallocate capital to the uncertain long-term gain.
Everything is under control.
Netflix's counterintuitive choice was to cannibalize itself. It invested in convenience, subscription models, recommendation engines, and eventually streaming. That shift required patience and a tolerance for short-term revenue disruption. It required imagining a future where the living room's center of gravity moved from physical shelf to an internet connection. They were patient. They were building. When streaming arrived as a practical, mass-market technology, those internal investments paid off. Netflix already owned a direct relationship with users. Blockbuster owned locations. By 2004, they had 4.2 million subscribers. Blockbuster laughed. In fact, Blockbuster's CEO once had the chance to buy Netflix for $50 million. He declined. That decision is now called one of the biggest mistakes in business history. Bankruptcy is often portrayed as the catastrophe. But the real tragedy is the moral of missed adaptation. A company built to deliver entertainment failed to deliver the right kind of entertainment, the one that matched how people wanted to access stories. Netflix wasn't just delivering DVDs anymore. They were building a weapon, a direct pipeline to the customer's living room. Then came the streaming shift. In 2007, Netflix flipped the switch. No more waiting for DVDs in the mail. With one click, a movie would start playing instantly. And here's where the story takes a darker turn. Streaming didn't just change how we watched. It began changing what we watched. The more they studied human behavior, the more they realized, we are predictable. We are bingeable. Netflix's algorithm began feeding viewers exactly what would keep them watching the longest. Every scroll, every pause, every rewatch. It was all being tracked. As one former executive put it, we're not in the business of movies. We're in the business of time.
In general, I also realize that we're in a period of transition. Folks grew up thinking, I want to make movies on a gigantic screen and have strangers watch them and play in the theaters for 2 months and people cry and sold out shows. It just doesn't happen very much anymore.
It's outdated.
By 2010, Netflix wasn't just a platform. It was a cultural force. It started funding original productions. Some became global hits. Critics warned about the influence Netflix was gaining over global narratives. Governments began questioning its impact on culture, politics, even mental health. But for Netflix, the goal was clear: dominate attention. By 2020, Netflix had over 200 million subscribers. And the same company that once begged Blockbuster for a deal was now worth over $200 billion. But here's the question history will keep asking. Was Netflix just a business or a cultural engineer? Because the same system that gave us some of the most creative shows in history also mastered the art of keeping us glued to a screen, hour after hour. And when a company controls both the content and the delivery, it's not just entertainment anymore. It's influence. Technology isn't neutral. The platforms we use shape the stories we hear and the ones we don't. Be aware of the hand that feeds you the narrative, because it might also be feeding you a version of the truth it wants you to see.